Juniper by Monica Furlong, Chapter 18. That day the grey knight arrived, celebrated by a trumpeter as he entered our gates and surrounded by pages who carried more presents for Marut, including a magnificent collar of pearls. He was received by my father, and they spent half the day talking together. I met the knight when the evening brought us all together in the great hall. He was a tall, handsome man, carrying, as many of the knights did, scars of battle on his face. In his case, they only added to his good looks. He had piercing black eyes, and when he was introduced to me, I felt as if he looked right through me and knew everything about me. For the first time since my return, I felt afraid. The sight of Gamal's miserable face as he stood beside Marut did not reassure me. The wedding was celebrated with great splendor, and as was our custom, the feast went on for days. Like most of the younger people, I got bored with the endless drinking and storytelling, and soon slipped away to talk and have fun. Freed from Marut's supervision, Gamal and I spent a lot of time together. Quite often we were joined by Finbar, who, despite myself, I was beginning to like. Gamal often played his flute, pausing from time to share the thoughts that troubled him. "They'll make me go back to Caerleon with them," he said. "The trouble is, I'm not old enough to refuse." "One of the knights could make you his squire," Finbar suggested. Gamal shook his head. Both of us knew the reason this was unlikely. If Marut wanted him to accompany her, none of the knights would wish to defy her. "Do you think that, now that Marut is married, she will give up her plans for Castle Dor? You know, the ones you told me about that time at the shore?" This was not quite honest of me. The memory of Marut cursing us all in the winter dawn did not suggest that her ambitions had changed. Gamal shook his head and flushed. "She has never forgiven your father for inheriting the kingdom and taking it from her. She believes it is rightly hers, and eventually mine." He hesitated for a long while. "She thinks only of how to get it back. She will not forgive me for refusing to help her. I think that is why she bore me, and why she insists I must be a soldier, so that somehow I can avenge her." "What will she do to get what she believes is hers? Will she fight for it, or will she prefer to use spells?" I tried to keep my voice as even as possible, as if we were discussing something that did not matter very much. Gamal shrugged. "I have no doubt she is using spells already. As to war, I do not know." For a moment the other night I felt sorry for Marut, I said. "It is not fair that she was robbed of the throne. I would not like it if a younger brother was preferred before me. If I wanted to be queen, that is." "But she swore loyalty to King Mark, as we all did. He has been good to us, and you are my cousin and friend." I put out a hand and grasped Gamal's. "In any case, curses are no way to get what you want." So Gamal really did think, as I did, that Marut's curse was what ailed the country. It was a great relief when Marut and the Grey Knight rode back to Caerleon along with their retinue of servants. The knight's servants had been rude and arrogant, and the feast had strained the slender resources of Castle Dor. Though, of course, I watched Gamal ride away with a sad heart. My friend and ally had left us. Yet almost immediately I was distracted by a new piece of information. Visiting my mother, I found her in a strange state, both elated and anxious. "Ninnock, it is unmistakable. I am to have a baby." I knew that she had longed to have another child, and that, although she loved me, her only daughter, she had felt somehow to blame for not providing the warrior heir that kings preferred. I also knew that if she did have a boy, it meant that I would never become queen. I felt a pang of jealousy. I tried to crush it beneath the protective feelings I had about my mother. "Don't tell anyone for as long as possible in case Marut finds out," I cautioned. "That is why I am afraid," said Erlaine, her great gray eyes filled with dread, "that she may know already and have damaged my child." "You use the clear water?" "Yes, every day." "It will be all right. This comes at a good time. It will comfort people that something, someone, can live and grow despite Marut's curse." I had been giving a lot of thought to Marut's curse, and as a result I was sleeping badly. My nightmares were about Marut, clad all in gray, and more terrible, of a huge, unblinking eye watching me through a hole in the wall. If only Uni were at home, I kept thinking, to give me advice. How could I undo the curse and turn Marut's corrupting, killing hate into the love that made all things grow? I turned over in my mind all that I had been taught. Earth, air, fire, and water are your allies, Uni had said. I planned the ritual and asked my mother to accompany me. The next morning I woke with a sense of fear. I felt as if I were directly challenging Marut. But I got up, put on Uni's crescent moon necklace and my Doran's cloak, and lowered Moon onto my shoulder. Erlaine and I went out before dawn to the place beyond the walls where I had seen Marut. I stood still and thought of the mother goddess before whom Uni had bowed in her shrine high on the Tor. Then I took earth and crumbled it between my fingers. "Mother, let sun and rain make this earth fertile. Let it yield crops to feed our animals and provide food for our children. Let the plants flower and the trees bear fruit, and let no human blood be spilled upon this earth." I took water and poured it on the ground. "Mother," I said, "let our springs and streams and rivers run pure so that all may drink. Let this water wash away the curse of violence." I lit a small fire. "Mother, let this fire burn away all that is wicked and corrupt." I stood and looked up into the dark sky. "Mother, let the air of this place not be filled with cries of pain." I turned to Erlaine, the mother whom I knew and loved. Putting my hands gently on her belly, I thought of the baby within. "Mother, keep this one safe," I asked. "May this child be born strong and healthy and grow up in a kingdom that knows peace." Then, as Ankharid and Uni had taught me, I danced the dance that is the harmony of all creation, and as I did so, I uttered the great words that keep sorrow and sickness within bounds. Finally, I bowed low in the direction of the wooden palace. When it was over, I felt desperately tired, almost too weary to climb the path to Castle Door. I had given my strength to the anti-curse, and it had left me feeling weak and afraid. As we returned, I noticed with a sense of pleasure and relief that the rooks were rising from the trees on one side with noisy cries and flapping indignantly away. Within a few weeks, it was plain that something was very different in the kingdom. The ewes and cows and horses began to conceive, and the people to regain their old vitality. My mother had a new piece of information for me. "Ninuk, I don't know what you will say. The astrologers tell me that the baby will be a boy." And again I felt a pang of jealousy and anger. It had not been difficult to utter a Doran's blessing upon the new baby. I could not possibly wish my mother any harm. Yet I knew in my heart that I had hoped the baby would be a girl. The winter months slipped away and the sun returned. That year we had a wonderful spring. The air seemed full of the calling of birds, and the woods shone with primroses, violets, and bluebells. Trees and hedgerows were covered with blossoms. The sowing produced strong green shoots, and the lambing was the best we had ever had. After the fear and darkness of the winter, people were light-hearted and joyous. They were thin and short of food after their ordeals, but their eyes were full of hope, and my father walked with a light step. Marut had gone, and her curse had gone with her.